Hey, is this Olaf, Kalen's new agent?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Shaun from Völsungur here. Just thought I'd check in. We're in mid-January. We've kind of got to make a decision on him now. Is there any interest in him in signing a new contract here at all?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Okay, just wanted to clear things up. It'd be really nice to keep him. He's a team leader at the club. It's going to create all sorts of dynamic issues, sadly. But we need to cash in on him because of the Icelandic transfer window situation here. The only chance we're going to get some money for him. So there's an offer on the table from Inter Milan. I know it's not Man City like he wanted, but that's the only one we've got that's anywhere near his value. So let him know that's where he's going and see if he wants to go.
Yes.
Okay.
Left it.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. Bye.
Looking for trouble and fights, but you found me. No, I'm a screw up, but baby, I'm glad you're someone to rely on, someone to rely on. No, I'm a screw up, but baby, I could be someone to rely on, someone to rely on, someone to rely on.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 163 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well. And coming up in today's episode, as you can see on screen, we are taking on Dortmund in the first knockout round of the Champions League and the first leg of that away from home at Signal Iduna Park. As well as that, we have sold some players since the end of last week. We'll catch you guys up on that before we get into that game. Some new players who have been added to our squad for the Champions League as well, and we'll also check in on how HK are getting on in their Conference League first knockout round tie after their first leg as well. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But this is what the first knockout round does look like for the Champions League. That is off the back of our last episode in the group stage at the end of last week. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it in the top right corner. We're going to have a little bit of a look at Dortmund just off the back of a transfer update. But before we do get into that, a quick update on what our preseason has looked like since we did defeat Ajax and Barcelona at the end of last week to go through the group stage in perfect condition, winning all 6 games out of 6. Some very comfortable wins there in our pre-season friendly games. A little bit of an overseas tour there, taking on the New York Red Bulls, Polone and HJK, trying to get the Völsungur brand nice and global these days. And off the back of that, we've had 2 games in the League Cup, the Dierbakar. We've got quite a nice group there, especially because in one of the other groups there is Fylkir and HK in the same groups. That does look like a bit of a group of death in the League Cup this season, so that's going to be one of our strongest competitors knocked out in the group stages. But so far, a good 6-1 win over Nat and 4-0 against Afteralding as well. Both of those games away, so we are still yet to play a competitive game at the new stadium here at Völsungur, but that means that we are on 6 points early doors in our group, and it is a group we should be topping. The only other team in our group who is unbeaten so far is Fram, and we are definitely better than Fram. It is fair to say at this point of the save to start off 2035. But as you would have been able to tell by the intro, we have sold a few players since you were last here, and it does impact our Champions League squad going into the knockouts this season. And here is the damage that has been done. Only one player has left us who was actually registered for our Champions League squad. It was the player who we suggested might be leaving come the end of last week because he wasn't signing a new contract here at Völsungur, with that contract expiring at the end of the year. We wanted to offload him for money before he became available on a free transfer. And Kalen Rakasan has left for Inter Milan. He will join up with Kenny Boreal to take on Manchester City in the first knockout round of the Champions League. But Kalen Rakasan has left us. Very, very good player who we did sign out of Cluj in Romania all the way back in 2030 for just shy of £4 million. Did a great job for us over what ended up being 5 seasons here at Völsungur. But as I said, wasn't going to renew his contract here at Völsungur, unfortunately, despite the fact that at some stage last week I did actually think that we had sorted that out. Unfortunately, he still didn't want to re-sign a contract here. So because of that, we have sold him to Inter Milan, albeit for quite a good price there of £40 million. And there's a little bit of a percentage of next sale clause included in that deal as well. So we are going to be a little bit weaker in the Mazzala role. No one as good as Kalen Rakasan in our current squad. And of course, we can't replace him until the next European season because where the transfer window does fall here in Iceland in terms of the incoming. So Kalen Rakasan he has gone to Inter Milan for £40 million. And another player who we have sold, Tomohiro Horikawa, who wasn't registered for the Champions League squad, quite a promising Japanese left winger, but he also didn't want to renew his contract, albeit his contract wasn't expiring until the end of 2036. We potentially could have actually sorted that out, but he was a foreign player, left winger, was actually doing quite well for us last season, made our team of the season, but we have already done a deal for a young Danish left winger who ended up having more potential than Horikawa, because when he was at the club just before we sold him, that potential did drop down to 3.5 white stars. So I did think it was a good deal here, getting rid of a foreign left winger when we did have some more higher potential players coming to the club. For £15.5 million does go to Manchester City, so hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us like it did with Joe Corcoran only a half year or so ago in the Champions League final. But Tomohiro Horikawa, he goes to Man City for £15.5 million. As I said, Horikawa was actually very good for us last season with those 7 appearances and 7 goals in the league, as well as 3 assists, 1 man of the match, and played a bit more than that as well in the domestic cup competitions. But he has gone to Man City, and yet again we make a good profit on that deal, having only signed him for £2.4 million back in 2033. He goes to Man City for £15.5 million, and yet again there is a percentage of next sale clause included in that deal. We will show you the guy who we are going to replace Horikawa with, even though he hasn't actually joined the club yet, because the transfer window domestically doesn't open up for another week yet. But this guy's the reason that we did sell Tomohiro Horikawa. He is joining us in only a few days' time, actually only 3 days right off the back of this episode. But this is Christopher Alligard out of Midtjylland in Denmark, 18 years old. Because he's Danish, it's not going to take him long at all to become both Icelandic nationality as well as homegrown club and nation. Obviously being EU as well gives him a little bit of an extra boost over Horikawa. And as you can see, 2-star current ability, might even be 2.5 once he eventually does join the club. And he also has that 5-star potential, with 3.5 stars of that being gold. So I do think he's a more promising prospect than Horikawa was, and that is why we did sell Horikawa, and we are signing this guy for £7.8 million. I think that's quite a good bit of business, and hopefully he can go on and end up being a good left-wing option for us, alongside the likes of Ognjen Miskic, as well as the homegrown club and nation player in Shaun. So those are the sales that we have made going into the second half of the Champions League season. Obviously that does mean we have had to change our starting 11 with that sale of Kalen Rakasan. So what that means is it is time for Bruno Costa to step up from the under-19s, where he was doing a good job down in the UEFA Youth League. He steps up and takes over that Mazzala role. We're probably going to sign someone eventually to actually step into that Mazzala role, because there is an option out there who is a lot better suited to being a Mazzala. I think Bruno Costa is going to end up being a very good box-to-box midfielder, probably the long-term backup to Lasana Doumbia, but he'll be the Mazzala for us for now. Will the young Portuguese 19-year-old with his 3-star current ability and that 5-star potential. I do think, though, he's a much better prospect as a box-to-box midfielder than a Mazzala, but we'll use him as a Mazzala for the rest of this season, because we don't really have any other options apart from the likes of Fabio Mariano. But this guy, better current ability and better potential, will give him some game time in the Champions League. So Bruno Costa will step into the team in place of Kalen Rakasan. But apart from that, our starting 11 exactly the same as it was for the group stages. And down on the bench as well, we have actually found a way to register Hans Voss. That is because Filip Jakubov, who is going to be our 4th choice centre-back for the second half of the Champions League season, he is now homegrown at club. That means we don't have to register him. So we took out Abdoulaye Corre, one of our other centre-backs, and that means we've got the opportunity to put Hans Voss into the mix, a player who has been very good for us since he signed in domestic competitions. Hopefully that can convert over into European football, can cover both sides, albeit I do think with that good crossing, he is much better suited out on the right-hand side than the left-hand side, considering we do play an inside forward out on the left. But he's been very good for us domestically over the last few seasons since we did sign him back in 2033. But those are the only changes that we have made to our Champions League squad, with those departures and that player becoming homegrown nations. We look pretty similar to what we did before, but just Hans Voss makes his way onto the bench and Bruno Costa into the starting lineup. But we are going to take on Dortmund in the first knockout round. There are all the ties, as you can see there. Dortmund just struggling ever so slightly with their new manager, over in the Bundesliga. He was just appointed to take over from Steven Gerrard when we did have the draw at the end of last week. That was Oliver Glasner, but currently they find themselves fourth in the Bundesliga and quite a long way behind a Bayern Munich team who we have quite a good record over recently in the knockouts of Champions League football as well. So I'd like to think that we can get through this first knockout round fairly safely, even in this first league, which is being played in front of the yellow wall in Germany. A quick look at the Dortmund team again. It isn't full of players who look overly threatening. A few handy players in there at this point of the save. Gabriel Madrid's a decent wing back. They've got Curtis Jones in the midfield. But honestly, apart from that, nothing really too scary looking there about that Dortmund team. So hopefully we can get the job done over these guys and make our way through to the quarterfinals, albeit, as I said today, we are just going to play the first league because there's a decent gap in between this one and the second league in just under a month's time. And we'll come back shortly and take on Dortmund, as I said, in front of the yellow wall in Germany in the first leg of this Champions League first knockout round tie. And here's a look at the team sheets going into this first knockout round first league. There is Dortmund, just changed a little bit from what we did see before on the club info page, but pretty similar. And there is our team as we ran through before. Hopefully we can get a decent result here away from home to take back for our first European game tomorrow at our new stadium. And 5 minutes into this one, we do have a highlight as we are on the attack, and Nicholas Zimmerman gets cut down big time there by Gabriel Madrid. The referee runs over to him. It's a very early red card here, so there's a very big early advantage here away in Germany. Dortmund down to 10 men after only 5 minutes. And only 7 minutes off the back of that red card, we are back down Dortmund's end here for a throw, and Louis Herrera will line this up. He'll find Mizkic inside the box, takes his time, fires that into the bottom left corner, and 12 minutes into this Champions League first knockout round tie, we go 1-0 up, albeit the big asterisk, of course, that we are playing in front of 10 men, but we need to make the most of this, and hopefully that's going to take some pressure off going into that second leg tomorrow. But it's a great start, 1-0 up after only 12 minutes. And only a couple of minutes off the back of that opening goal, we do have another throw-in, albeit this time deep inside our own half. We loop that deep, but thankfully we do keep possession. A nice ball here from Nicholas Zimmerman for Adam Saki. It's a great chance, but he puts it wide. That could have been 2-0, but we're still 1-0 up here coming up to the 20-minute mark. And going forward now to the 25-minute mark, we do have a corner. Bruno Costa's going to put this into the mixer. Bassero Gay off the post, and Mizkic is there to tap it in, but we'll just wait and see whether he was offside or not. It did look a little bit too good to be true, but you never know from corners. Sometimes there's some players sitting on the post, but unfortunately this time that is not the case. Mizkic is offside. We'll just wait here to see what it did look like off the back of that header from Gay. A good stride offside there, and it's still 1-0 with 20 minutes left in the first half. And just over 10 minutes shy here of half-time in this first half. It is a free kick here for Dortmund. Hopefully we don't concede a goal against them when they are down to 10 men, but there's a good chance here for Wegener, but thankfully that shot is straight into the path of Volin, and it's still 1-0 with 10 minutes left in the first half. And just getting into injury time here in the first half, we do have a throw-in, very similar position to where we did see that second highlight start from earlier in this game, at least the second highlight that wasn't the red card very early on. We try and get something going here out of defence. If we can get a cushion goal here going into half-time, that would be very good indeed, even against only 10 men, but we are taking our time here to play out from the back. It's a little bit fancy there, but we steadily try and get something going here eventually out on the left-hand side, and Mizkic now is on the ball. Little flick there to Louis Herrera, and yet again we play that back to our centre-backs, but Radenko Krolo given a lot of space here down the right-hand side, and he finds a nice ball here over the top, and Saki is in behind, takes a good touch around the goalkeeper, buries that in the back of the net, and as we mentioned right before halftime, there is a cushion goal, which is going to be very nice indeed. This is already looking like a good little buffer that we might potentially be taking back to Iceland for the second leg in tomorrow's episode. Took our time there getting that ball out of the back, but a nice ball there from Radenko Krolo, and Saki with that good first touch around the goalkeeper slots that away, and that makes it 2-0, just shy here of halftime. And indeed that is going to be the halftime score, very dominant as you would expect against only 10 men after that big moment after 5 minutes, that red card to Gabriel Madrid. So things going very nicely for us here away from home in front of the yellow wall. We will make one change at halftime. Bruno Costa playing well, which is good, but is on a yellow card. Don't want to risk anything here, especially playing against 10 men. We'll bring on Fabio Mariano for him for this second half, but we're very happy with how things are going so far as we take a 2-0 lead into the second 45 minutes of this first leg. And only a few minutes into the second half, we do have a highlight here, starting off with a goal kick to Dortmund as they do look to play out from the back, and they're doing something pretty similar to what we did do before we did score that second goal. Hopefully we can get possession back here against the 10 men, but they are starting to make their way into our half, albeit a bit of a loose touch there, and Radenko Krolo is there to get the ball back for us. He's been pretty good so far, especially that assist for that second goal, but yet again we do look to play out from the back after regaining position. Louis Herrera here takes his time on the ball, gets this up to Mizkic. He will play this back to Louis Herrera, plays it back up for Mizkic. Nice ball over the top there. It's a little bit messy, but Lassana Doumbia will slot that away in the bottom left corner, and very early on here in the second half, we continue some good form in this one, and that makes it 3-0 early in the second half, and already we might have 1 foot in the door of the Champions League quarterfinals here. Nice ball from Mizkic. Gets a little bit tangled up there with, I imagine that was Adam Saki, but still finds a way to put that in the bottom left corner and put us 3-0 up. And immediately off the back of that goal, we do have another highlight here as Dortmund try and strike back from the restart, but hopefully we can hold on. Even if we don't, would still be okay taking a 2-goal lead back to Iceland for the second leg, but hopefully we don't concede here against 10 men. But Dortmund are keeping possession fairly well here off the back of this restart, even if they do have to play that back to their defence. But as you've seen, that's been working quite well for us so far in this one. It's a bit of a fortunate deflection there in your Kira with a good chance, but thankfully just puts that wide to Dortmund. Nearly get 1 goal back, but we're still 3-0 up with about 40 minutes left. And only a few minutes off the back of that previous highlight where Dortmund had a good chance there to get a goal back. They are back in position. They play a deep ball forward, but thankfully Ali Ramadan does get there before the Dortmund winger. And yet again, we take our time here by the looks of it, trying to play out from the back. Herrera will play this up to Mizkic, but he passes that back to Ali Ramadan. And we just wait and try and spread this Dortmund defence, especially as they are, of course, down to 10 men. So there should be lots of gaps. It's a nice first-time ball that from Radenko Krolo, and Adam Saki buries that into the bottom right corner. It's a quick-fire double to start off the second half, and already we are a long way towards making the quarterfinals. It was already that case at 3-0, but especially now 4-0 with still just under 40 minutes left of this one. It's probably going to end up being about 40 minutes with injury time added, but yet another nice long ball forward there from Radenko Krolo. Adam Saki tucks it away to make it 4-0 Völsungur. And 5 minutes off the back of that fourth goal, we are about to have a free kick here from just outside the box, and it is going to be Nicholas Zimmerman who will try and put this into the top left corner. Forces a decent save there out of Mikkelsen, but probably just a little bit too low there to be finding the back of the net. But it does mean that we have a corner which Doumbia will put into the mix of it. Dortmund will deal with that danger, and that is the end of the highlight. Still 4-0 up with a half hour left. And we've gone forward to the 69-minute mark. We're going to make a second substitution here. Nicholas Zimmerman only going okay. We'll give Hans Voss some game time out there so he can hopefully get a decent rating. That's 2 of our subs used, still 4-0 up with 20 minutes left. And going forward about 10 minutes off the back of that previous substitution, time for us to make our last one now. Both Basarogay and Lassana Doumbia are down to a red heart. I think with the options left in our squad these days, after that sale of Kalen Rakasan, the more important player is Lassana Doumbia. So I think we're going to take him off. Elaine Basicki can come on for him, and that means that Basarogay can go forward to the box-to-box role for these last 12 minutes, still holding that 4-0 lead. And it's nearly full time here in this one. Ognjen Mizkic has picked up a late yellow card, so we've just told him to ease off tackles just to make sure that nothing silly does happen late in this one, so he is not available for any future games here in these Champions League knockouts. But that is a very good performance, albeit with that big asterisk after that early red card there for Madrid, for Dortmund. But off the back of that, we really got on the front foot, Dortmund offering very little in response to us there, and we pick up a 4-0 win. Only 9 shots on target as well, so quite efficient in front of goal. But that's probably the result that you'd expect playing against 10 men, especially against a Dortmund team who are just inside that top 4 in the Bundesliga. But that's a good result, obviously making the most of that red card. And as I said, we've gone a long way towards already making our way through to the quarterfinals, 4-0 up going into the second leg in Iceland in tomorrow's episode. And also Barcelona keep up the good record in our group, beating Juventus 2-1 in their first leg at home. But we are going back to Iceland, as I said, with a nice 4-0 lead for our first European game of the save in Husavik in tomorrow's episode. So a very good result for us there in the first leg away from home, especially in front of the yellow wall, albeit as I've said a few times, that early red card no doubt gave us a little bit of an extra boost there after only 5 minutes, but a very comfortable 4-0 lead, which we are taking back to my arena for the first time playing a European game in Husavik in this save tomorrow. But there is what the top half of the draw does look like after those first legs in this first knockout round. But we have gone forward a few days to check in on this. Barcelona, Hertha Berlin and Lille all taking leads into the away leg at the moment. I think it's fair to say we are by far in the strongest position, picking up a very comfortable win away from home. But the main reason that we have gone forward is to check in on how HK got on in the first leg of their first knockout round tie down in the Conference League. And we can actually watch the highlights from this game. So we'll watch the goals out of this one. They were taking on Apollon Limassol out of Cyprus, dropping down from the Europa League. I thought they might be the favourites going into this one. They are in the black and silver stripes, and they got off to a decent start here. I say decent start. They opened the scoring just shy of the hour mark through their star Icelandic striker in Berntsen, and then only 6 minutes later, they made it 2-0. So HK doing a good job here away from home. Tomasan there puts that into the mixer, and our former player in Vlade Saric will tap that home. Unfortunately, with about 7 minutes left though, they did concede a goal back. Rasias there makes his way into the box. It's a decent save there from Hendrickson, but straight into the path of that player with the long name on a yellow card. But there's a good result there away from home for HK. They will take a 2-1 lead back to Iceland for the second leg of that first knockout round tie, that one being played in only a week's time. And being at home, you'd like to think that they're going to make their way through to the second knockout rounds. HK are going to do a decent job potentially for us here in the Conference League knockouts, their first time that they have made knockout football in Europe so far in this save. But that will do it for today's episode. Very good result there away from home, even without Kalen Rakasan. Good performance there in the first half anyway from Bruno Costa stepping in for him, and as well as that, of course, HK picking up a win in the first leg of their first knockout round tie down in the Conference League. If you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We'll come back tomorrow and finish things up against Dortmund, and for the first time in the save, it is going to be a home game being played in Husavik at my arena. So hopefully we can kick off European football at the new stadium with a win, even though we are taking quite a comfortable scoreline back into that one. And before we do get the draw for the quarterfinals, which you'd imagine we are going to be taking part in, we should also know whether or not we have got out of our group in the League Cup yet again, with our very, very good record that we do have in that competition. And we'll also, of course, check in on how HK are getting on in the Conference League as well as show you guys some of the players who we have signed, seeing as the transfer window is about to open up in only a few hours' time. And games will unveil all of that stuff for you tomorrow. And as I said, we should be making our way through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League as well. So we'll see who we do get in the draw for that as well. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.